Good evening, good evening. How you guys doing out there? It's Mike and JJ back with Soberheadz podcast. We on the journey of the 12 and 12, 12 steps, 12 tradition book. And right now, we're on step 4. How you doing, Jay?
I'm all right, man. Just thanking God for each day,
Mm-hmm.
thanking Him for, you know, health and wealth and, all that good stuff, man.
Indeed, brother, indeed, indeed. Step 4 made a made a fearless more inventory. Whew. Made a searching, fearless moral inventory, man. What you think about that, Jay?
It's
A
the
searching,
searching.
fearless moral inventory.
It's the searching, you know what I mean? Looking through
Mm.
not just the surface, but, you got to dig deep and see, you know, everything, how they say, with addiction, sometimes you don't even see it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
we were functioning alcoholics, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
both worked in the
Mm-hmm.
school systems, you know what I'm saying? And we
Mm-hmm.
would go to school and teach the kids during the day and party during the night, you know what I mean? So like,
Facts,
just
facts, facts.
that,
It's deep, man. Often when I'm in meetings and we come over this step, I just really
Mhm.
turn and I thank God um that he gave me the desperation to even do this. Like, cause this is some work. But when you got the desperation to do it, it would change your life, man. It
Yeah.
would really give you that chance to analyze yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know what
and
I'm
then
saying? So
it's the add-up step, you know what I'm saying? So we already know what step 1 and 2 and 3 took us through.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
now it's like, here we are, step 4. You got to look at yourself in the mirror and be like,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? Like, that's
Indeed, indeed. All right, let's get at it, man. It says creation gave us instinct for a purpose. Without them, we wouldn't be complete human beings. If men and women didn't exert themselves to be secure in their persons, made no effort to harvest food or construct shelter, there would be no survival. If they didn't reproduce, the earth wouldn't be populated. If there was no social instinct, if men cared nothing for their society of one another, there would be no society. Yet these desires for the sex relation, for material and emotional security, and for companionship are necessary and right, and are surely God given. Yet these instincts, so necessary for our existence, often far exceed their proper functions. Powerfully, blindly, many times subtly, they drive us, dominate us, and insist upon ruling our lives. Our desires for sex, for material and emotional security, and for its important place in society often tyrannize us. When thus out of joint, men's natural desires cause him great trouble, practically all the trouble there is. Wow. No human being, however good, is exempt from these troubles. Nearly every serious emotional problem can be seen as a case of misdirect instinct. When that happens, a great natural assets, the instincts have turned into physical and mental liabilities. What you got about this so far, bro?
I mean, it's the the desires, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
the desires for the ungodly things that we had in our life, you know what I mean? Whether it was,
Mm-hmm.
material things, the sex, the emotional security, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
then we when we were getting all that, we just happened to be uh at an important place that we thought was in our life. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're running a basketball company. I'm, flourishing in the AAU world, and you know what I mean? Like, and I'm thinking, you know, that this money and the power that comes with, doing what we're doing was rewarding. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I just wanted more. You know what I mean? I wasn't never satisfied.
There you go. That part, the part of wanting more, man. Like it
I
was
remember
never
when
enough, bro. It was never enough.
it became a problem for me was like I had that one team. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm.
And like I said, it was us and Team New Jersey, and from that one team blossomed a whole organization. You know what I'm saying? So it was
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't be everywhere in every place, but that rush and that desire, and like I said, the fuel of the alcohol had you thinking you could do everything and anything. So
100%, and nothing was never enough. Not a drink wasn't enough, a dollar wasn't enough, and one
mhm.
woman wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Like nothing was never enough, man. So this is gonna be a deep dive into this, bro.
Oh yeah.
It says step 4 is a vigorous and painstaking effort to discover what these liabilities in each of us have been and are. We want to find exactly how, when, and where our natural desires have warped us. We wish
Mhm.
to look squarely at the unhappiness that this has caused others and ourselves. By discovering our emotional deformities, or we can move toward their correction. Without a willing and persistent effort to do this, there can be little sobriety or contentment for us. Without a searching and fearless moral inventory, most of us have found that the faith which really works in the daily life is still out of reach. Whoo, what you got on that, bro?
I mean, it's if you do the same thing over and over and over again, and nobody's telling you there's nothing wrong with it, you're just gonna be
Mm,
stuck. You're gonna be stuck. You know what I mean? So like, if you're around people who are like, yo, Mike, hey man, come out, meet me at bar A or XYZ, you just get used to that. You know what I'm saying? And then
mm-hmm,
you act,
mm-hmm,
like in your mind, it becomes the norm. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
So if you don't make the effort to change, or you're not around people who are pushing you, you know, or holding you accountable, you're gonna stay stuck where you are, man.
mm. I see this joint as saying like, how are you really gonna go to God and commit everything to Him when you didn't even realize what's really wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like if you're not honestly gonna write everything out and really look at who you are. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
be totally, totally honest about who you are. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you can't do that, how are you really gonna go to him and say, God, fix this, if you're not even willing to be honest about what's really wrong? You get what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
when they saying that with without a searching and fearless moral inventory, most of us have found that the faith that really works in daily life is still out of reach because you can't even be honest about who you really are.
Yeah. But
You know
think
what I
about it
mean?
like
Like, go ahead.
sometimes we don't want to accept who we really are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm,
and that's the problem. You know what I mean? Like, you know, to this day, even though we're sober and we got years in, if we go to a meeting, we still have to accept the fact that when I speak at a meeting, I have to address my uh, other people as John the alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? Like,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I don't
mm-hmm,
address the crowd as my name is John and I'm sober. You know what I'm saying? Like,
mm-hmm,
no, I'm
mm-hmm,
no different.
mm-hmm,
I'm no different than what you are and who you are and what you're going through. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an example of if you work uh, these steps, they work. You know what I'm saying? But then it goes back to the faith. You know what I mean? If I didn't
mm,
have faith that I could change, then I wouldn't
mm-hmm.
change. You know what I'm saying? Or if I'm around people who telling me, "Oh man, you're never gonna get better," then what you think gonna happen? You're not gonna get better.
Facts, facts. It says before tackling the inventory problem in detail, let's have a closer look at the basic problem is. Simple examples like the following take on the world of meaning when we think about them. Suppose a person places sex desire ahead of everything else. In such a case, this imperious urge can destroy his chances for material and emotional security, as well as his standing in the community. Whew. Another may develop an obsession for financial security that he wants to do nothing but hoard money. Going to the
Mm-hmm.
extreme, he can become a miser and even a recluse who denies himself both family and friends. Whoa.
That's deep.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. So your desire for sex is gonna rip your bank account and have you looking bad in the community, man. Just think about just being real. If you had all the money that you use preparing for it, the hotel rooms, the alcohol, the all of that
Mhm.
stuff, if you had every dollar that you spent towards fornication activities, how much money do you think that you would have?
I'll be a millionaire.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, let's be real. Real talk.
Facts,
You
right?
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'll be a millionaire.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm
Like it
talking
ain't
about
no
the
ifs, ands, or
dinners, talking about the
yeah.
dinners that you spent, the prepping it,
You know,
the alcohol
we can
stuff
talk
you
about
bought,
dinner.
everything.
The the downward spiral of addiction is knowing that you can get it right back. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So, like, if we did
facts.
a basketball tournament and we made $25,000 in a weekend, it's 3 more weekends. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
If I
yeah,
book it this weekend, I'm gonna get it back next weekend. You know what I'm saying? And that
yeah.
came with the the reckless behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I
Mm,
could drive home drunk tonight and don't get caught, then I'm gonna drive home the next day and not get caught. You know what I'm saying? So
mm,
those habits just, when there is no accountability, man. And you read something about it was emotional security as well as his
mm-hmm,
standing in the community. Now that's a
mm-hmm.
catch-22 because you got to look at it like this: no matter what we did, whether we were drinking or we weren't drinking, we were considered stand-up dudes in our community.
Yeah,
Period. You know.
yeah, yeah.
So with that came a lot of responsibility, but it also
Facts.
came with the people's view of what they thought we were. You know what I'm saying? So like
Mm,
when people saw us out and we was drinking and we was partying and we wasn't faithful to our wives, then that's all they ever saw. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
Now that we
mm-hmm.
sit here on this podcast tonight talking about how much we love God and how much living a sober life is helped us. People are looking at them like, oh no, I remember when Mike and JJ used to be at Suburban. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
so look out for
yeah.
that.
Indeed, indeed. You want to pick up where it says
Yeah,
Norris the quest?
yeah.
Good.
Nor the quest for security always expressed in terms of money. How frequently we see a frightened human being determined to depend completely upon a stronger person for guidance and protection. The
Mm,
weak one, failing to meet life's responsibility with his own resources, never grows up.
mm,
Delusionment and helplessness are his lot. In time, all his protectors either flee or die. Ooh, and he is once more left alone and afraid. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like, I'm gonna just pick up on that because that right there is a true statement. You know what I mean? Like that
that's
goes
deep.
being like we all come from the same place in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, a man and a woman have to have sex in order for us to be here, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
Eventually you'll learn good habits or bad habits from that man or woman in your life or the people around you. You know what I'm saying? And then once those people go on and die, and you put your trust in, like those are your protectors. Some people don't know how to function because all they knew
mm.
was what that person was teaching them. You know what I'm saying? So
Facts,
I think it's
facts.
very important that although we all come from a foundation of being raised by our mom and our dads and our aunts and uncles or whoever, but I think the safest thing that we can fall back on is the commandments. You know what I mean? So
Facts, facts, facts.
'cause they don't
My
change. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
my walk was a little different because I didn't really have that type of shelter type upbringing. So I spent a lot of time
mhm,
alone. I spent a lot of
mhm,
time going outside on my own. Spent a lot of time in playing sports. Like I didn't. My mom never had a car, so she never was driving me to games. I would have to catch a ride with a teammate, or I walked. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So, and my dad wasn't there. That's my dude now, but he wasn't there
yeah,
then. So when it come to I had to have the drive to want to get things done myself. You know what I'm saying? So
mhm,
I just became more of a leader than somebody that had to depend on somebody else. You get what I'm saying? But I understand what you're saying because
yeah,
I see that. I see people that really worked hard and left their kids fortunes, and they just blew it because
Yeah,
they never had to do anything on their own. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I see it firsthand. So I definitely understand what you're saying. Go ahead, pick up where it says we have also.
We have also seen men and women who go power mad,
Mm,
who devote themselves to attempting to rule their fellows. These
mm,
people often throw to the winds every chance for legitimate security and a happy family life.
mm,
Whenever a human being becomes a battleground for the instincts, there can be no peace.
mm.
But that is not all of the danger. Every time a person imposes his instincts unreasonable upon others, unhappiness follows. If the pursuit of wealth tramples upon people who happen to be in the way, the anger, jealousy, and revenge are likely to be aroused. If
Wow.
sex runs riot, there is a similar uproar. Demands made upon other people for too much attention, protection, and love can only invite domination or excuse me, revolution
Yeah,
and the
revulsion.
protectors themselves. Revulsion
Mm.
and the protectors themselves. Two emotions quite as unhealthy as the demands which invoke them. When an individual desires for prestige becomes up uncontrollable, whether in the sewing circle or at the international conference table. Other people suffer and often revolt. This collision of instincts can produce anything from a cold snub to a blazing revolution. In this way, we are set in conflict not only with ourselves, but other people who have instincts too.
Whoa. Whoa.
Oof.
Whoa.
I
Jeez.
mean, that demand
Whoa.
made upon people for too much attention. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's the pressure. You know what I mean? Sometimes that could lead you to drinking. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
you got, your wife pulling you on one direction, your kids pulling you in another direction, the job pulling you in another direction, the business pulling you in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, so when you try to meet everybody's demands, sometimes the pressure is too much. You know what I mean? So,
Mm.
and go ahead.
I see, man. This talked about me a lot, man. I'm talking about where it says the pursuit of wealth tramples upon who happened to be in the way. When it was other people trying to come out with companies that I seen
Mhm.
it like a drive just came in me like I gotta step it up. I gotta step it up. I
Yeah,
looked at it as healthy competition, but inside it was that wanting to be the best, that pride. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like that pride that now I understand that it was all pride. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean,
Then when
definitely.
it comes to the sex thing, if the person I was with didn't want to do it as much as I wanted to do it, when I wanted to do it, how I wanted to do it, I went out and I
Yeah.
wanted to find somebody that could do what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? When I
Hmm.
wanted, how I wanted, like just on demand, and that was super selfish and self-centered. Then it
Oh
get
yeah.
down to the prestige, becomes uncontrollable. You know what I mean? And then when you get to that point, you start having issues that you don't, you know what I'm saying, that you shouldn't be having. But
Yeah.
it all comes down to the pride and looking in the mirror, like Jay-Z said on that song, when you look in the mirror like there I am, you know what I mean? And then
Hmm.
once that happens and you start to believe your own press clippings and you start to really think it's really about you,
Yeah.
and that's when that pride hits, and that's usually when it's headed to the other direction, man. Right?
Oh
It
yeah.
comes right before the destruction. You
That's
know what
it.
I
They
mean?
say
What you
pride.
got on that?
I mean that they said it comes before the fall, man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I can go back to what you said about the basketball point. You know what I mean? Like I said that on my post today earlier. Like, you a lot of these platforms that are out there, can really thank you for stopping doing it because a lot of them started to take off once you stop, doing basketball
Yeah,
spot.
yeah, 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 yeah. It was daytime though. It was daytime. Like my time
Yeah,
was
you know
coming
what I'm
to a
saying?
close. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just
But
did the blueprint and they saw that it worked. You know what I mean?
oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
but
my hat goes off to
in
them. Yeah,
yeah, and for you, it shows the humility and the discipline of wanting to be doing God's will versus,
100%.
having all the fame and fortune. You know what I mean? Because, I said, I always tell my wife this. I said, I always go back to like when I feel like, oh man, I should have did this when it came to basketball. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that, then that's that resentment kicking in, and I gotta shut it down real quick. Like, nah,
There
I'm
you
good.
go.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
So,
That's that pride that devil trying to get at you.
oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It says alcoholics especially should see the instinct run wild in themselves is the underlying cause of destructive drinking. We have drunk to drown feelings of fear, frustration, and
Mm,
depression. Whew.
mm,
We have drunk to escape guilt of passions, and then have drunk again
mm,
to make more passions possible.
mm.
Wow. We have drunk for vainglory that we might the more enjoy foolish dreams of pomp and power.
Mhm.
This perverse soul sickness is not pleasant to look upon. Instincts on rampant bulk of investigation. The minute we make a serious attempt to probe them, we are liable to suffer severe reactions. Whoa, that was a lot
Oh
in
yeah.
that one, bro.
Oh yeah.
That was a lot in
I
that one,
mean,
bro.
it goes back to we drunk to drown feelings. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
I would always say that I didn't need a lot to get drunk. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then when I found things to drink for, I was like, okay, like all right, they just told me my mom had cancer. All right, I gotta go get
Mm-hmm.
drunk. You know what I'm saying? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, might have had a miscarriage or something like that. You know what I mean? Gotta go get drunk. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but then when I started drinking to celebrate stuff, I'm sitting there like, wait a second. You know what I mean? So it ain't no rhyme or reason to why I'm getting drunk. You know what I mean? We just won a championship.
Mm.
Oh, let's go get a drunk. Let's go get drunk. We just lost the basketball game. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So like
Mm-hmm.
the reasons became there was no reasons. And then, like you said, now I'm sitting in a house by myself and I'm like, where everybody at that was drinking with me at one point in my
Mm-hmm.
life? You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Oh, they don't want to drink with me no more. Okay, now I gotta get drunker by myself. You know what I mean? So the depression starts to kick in, and those reasons and those feelings and those what did it say? The passion of the
Mm.
guilty passions. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
there's nothing more knowing that you shouldn't be, you're married and you shouldn't be sleeping with another
Mm-hmm.
woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
you would have to drink the guilt away. You know what I mean? So like
Mm-hmm.
it's like
Mm-hmm.
I know I shouldn't be doing this, but the only thing that's gonna make my mind at ease is me taking this shot of this Hennessy. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
you
Mm.
know
You
that
you telling my story. I don't really let me see if I even got something to say because you went hard with it right there. Respectfully. Drunk to drown feelings of fear. You know what I mean? No, those 6 years, man. No, those 10 years, because the foregoing a trial, it was I tried to drown it with fear, the frustration of having to deal with it, and the depression, man. Definitely drunk for all of that. The guilt of passions. Like you just said, like I never could cheat sober because I knew it
Mhm.
was wrong. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
couldn't, so I had to numb myself. I had to try to escape and be in a whole nother place just to be able to like want to do it, to really get into it. You know what I'm saying? Then
Mhm.
the vainglory. I'm drinking after the tournament over, count money,
Oh yeah.
just drinking, and then the foolish dreams of pump and power, turning on some rap music where Joker, I'm drinking and chilling, listening to some stuff that's pumping my ego,
Yeah.
pumping my ego. Now I'm thinking about how I could make more, how many more tournaments I could do, doing this, doing that,
Oh
but
yeah.
steady pumping my ego, not understanding I'm going farther and farther away from God and what He wants me to do. Because we
Right.
be trapped in that bubble, in that frame of
Mhm.
mind. not understanding that it's never gonna be enough.
That's
No
it.
matter what we got going on, it's never gonna be enough. No matter how much money we make, no matter what's going on, it's never gonna be enough. That was deep right there, man.
Bro. I
Um,
can remember.
whew, go ahead, bro.
I can remember a tournament, man, and then, like I said, this is one of the main reasons I'm glad I don't drink no more, man. I can remember doing a tournament, with you.
Mm-hmm.
We met after the end of the night, so that had to be around 7:30, 8 o'clock on a Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
You done pay everybody, right? I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about paying people to host the sites, paying
Mm-hmm.
referees. Now all it is referees and people who host the site, and now they out drinking, right? And, and guess who paying for the drinks? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, so it's like not only was you trying to help people, financially, but still the whole, control of, like I'm gonna let y'all know, like, yo, y'all don't gotta worry about nothing, man. All drinks on me. And then you
Mm-hmm.
wake up on Sunday morning and like you said, at the end of the tournament, here we go again. So we instead of us really making money and bonding and building positively, it was
Mm-hmm.
some negative, you know. So that's what I got for that, man.
Mm. Mm.
If
Yeah, like
temperamentally, oh, go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. You could pick up reading, go ahead.
If temperamentally we are on the depressive side, we are apt to be swamped with guilt and self-loathing. We
Mm.
wallow in the messy bog, often
Mm-hmm.
getting mishaps, happens, and painful pleasures out of it.
Wow.
As we mortably pursue this melancholy activity, we sink to such a point of despair that nothing but oblivion looks possible as a solution.
Mm.
Here, here, of course, we have lost all perspective and therefore our genuine humility.
Mm-hmm.
For this pride in reverse, this is
Mm.
not a moral inventory at all. This is the very process by which the depressive have so often been led to the bottle and extinction. If,
Bro.
however, our natural
Uh, go ahead.
deposition is inclined to self righteousness or grandversity, our reaction will be just the opposite. We will be offended at AA suggest inventory. Excuse me, AA suggested inventory. No doubt will shall point with pride to the good life we thought we led before the bottle cut us down. We shall
Mm.
claim that our serious character defects, if we think we have any at all, have been caused chiefly by excessive drinking.
Mm-hmm.
This being so, we think it logically follows that sobriety first, last, and all the time is the only thing we need to work for us. We believe
Mm-hmm.
that our one-time good characters will be received the moment we quit alcohol. If
Mm.
we were pretty nice people all along, expect except for our drinking, what need is there for a moral inventory now that we are sober?
All
Mm.
right, I'm gonna go back to that other paragraph you did because I was at that point, man, when that depression would kick in, and I look
Mhm.
forward to it. When I tell you, bro, that's a lonely place. When you look forward to the depression, like I knew that going in the basement and drinking in the basement was gonna make me sad and everything, but it was like a it was like a sick soothing part that came with it
Yeah,
that I look forward to. I look forward to feeling sorry for myself. I look forward to crying. I look forward to the self pity. And
yeah.
when you at that point, bro, things get dark, bro. So
Oh,
they definitely was hitting on that. You know what I mean? I never experienced the second one when they talking about inclined to self righteousness because when I went to AA, I was already ready to go. Like once I went in, I was
mhm.
broken. I had went
Yeah,
to rehab by myself. Like I was like, let's go. So I ain't never
yeah,
going there. Like some people got the story of going in there saying looking at the steps and saying to themselves, I'm not like these people. I'm not doing this and doing that. I did
Mm-hmm.
that the first time in rehab, but never at an AA meeting. Once I went to the
Yeah.
meetings, I was ready to go. But that
Yeah.
that depressed part, psh, that joint is no joke, bro.
Yeah.
That joint is no joke, bro. Like people I never really understood it at first, but when that joint
Mm-hmm.
jump on you, that joint ain't no joke, bro. And alcohol, at first it seems like it's working, then it turns on you.
Mm-hmm.
But my mind
Yeah.
kept telling me that it's gonna work again. It's gonna work again.
Yeah.
But it just then I got addicted to the depression, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I got
It's,
addicted to the depression. It's
I
no
mean,
joke,
you said
bro.
it best about the mind, man. You know what I mean? Like when the mind tells
Yeah.
you what to do, and like it said at one point, we all think we good people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, there's nothing wrong with me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
nobody.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, nobody never told me I drank too much, and nobody ever
Mm.
told me that I had to stop drinking. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Mm.
just got to a point where I was at rock bottom, and I was like, I don't want to live life like this no more. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not living how God wants me to live. You know what I mean? And it's starting to wear on me mentally. It's starting to wear on me financially. You know what I mean? And like I said, I got kids, and I want them to see a better version of me. You know what I mean? So I go back to, like you said, you mentioned Jay-Z. I mean, I remember I used to listen to Drunken Love like that was my theme song. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? And
uh,
then I had to ask myself, like, was I really in love with the person? And then I was like,
mm.
I tell you anything when I'm drunk. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's why I thank God for like that really doing that deep uh inventory. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
because
100%.
the
100%.
fearlessness is you have to face things that you've been denying. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I ain't a drunk. What you talking about? You know what I mean? I mean,
Uh-huh.
I mean, to me, drunks was like, yo, all wild and rowdy, falling all over the
Mm-hmm.
place, trying to fight everybody. I'm like, I'm not a drunk. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's somebody else, but not me. You know what I mean? Like so
But when you do
that.
that inventory, you gotta like, and you really honest, and you start peeling back that onion, bro, and you
Yeah.
start really seeing stuff that you thought you stuffed down way down far. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Down, you like, yo, whoo, that joint just unravels you. It says, we
Oh yeah.
also clutch another wonderful excuse for avoiding the inventory. Our present anxiety and troubles we cry are caused by the behavior of other people. People who really
Mm-hmm.
need a moral inventory. We firmly believe that if they just treat us better, we'll be all right. Therefore, we
Mm-hmm.
think our indignation is justified and reasonable, that our resentments are the right kind. We're only the we're we aren't the guilty ones, they are. Whew. At this stage of the inventory proceedings, our sponsors come to the rescue. They can do this, for they are the carriers of AA tested experience with step 4. They comfort the melancholy one by first showing him that his case is not strange or different. That is, character defects are probably not more numerous or worse than those of anyone else in AA. The sponsor promptly proves by talking freely and easily without um exhibiting them about his own defects, past and present. This calms yet realistic stock taken is immediately reassuring. The sponsor probably points out the newcomer has some assets which can be noted along with his liability. This tends to be clear away morbidity and encourage balance. As soon as he begins to be more objective, the newcomer can fearlessly, rather than fearfully, look at his own defects. My sponsor, my first sponsor, both of my sponsors did this for me, bro. When I was in
Mm-hmm.
Florida and when we got to step 4, um, he started telling me crazy stuff that he did. So
Yeah.
I'm listening to him, right? Because but it's smart though. He started really digging in on like crazy court cases he had, crazy stuff he did, and this
Mm-hmm.
and this. So then, because in your mind, you like, I gotta get ready to write this stuff down. How deep am I gonna get? So then the sponsor start telling you stuff that they did, and you like, man, I ain't that bad. He just as crazy as me. So now it kind of calms you down. It kind of
Mhm.
gets you, you know what I'm saying? So that's why when I get up to when I'm working with my sponsees, I often tell them crazy stuff that I did so they know like they not alone. And it kind of gives
Yeah.
you more courage to be able to go out and do the work you need to do. You know what I mean? That's what I got on that one.
I'm trying not to laugh, but
Why? Why? What
because
up? What up? What up?
I'm picturing you, right? You know what I mean? Like, and it's the last sentence, right? You see the last sentence?
As soon as he begins to more objectively, the newcomer can fearlessly rather than fearfully look at his own defects. That joint?
Yeah, yeah. So I always laugh because I remember I called you the one time and I was like, "Yo, man, I got this family member that needs some help, right?" And
Uh-huh.
you was like, "Well, if he need help, you know what I mean? Like, he better not be playing around." You know what I'm saying? And like,
Yeah.
sometimes we know the uh the sense of urgency of what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes
Yeah.
it's so urgent, and we know what it looks like that
Yeah.
we can put that fear into that newcomer. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So you got
Mhm.
to have that balance of
Yeah.
how you live sometimes. You know what I mean? But where we were, it's like we only know one way. You know what I mean? Like I used
Yeah.
to always tell my
Yeah.
I used to tell my wife it's a lot of things, a lot of ways you can say that a house is on fire. You know what I mean? You know,
Mhm.
you can scream it. You know what I mean? Hey, the house on fire. You can whisper it. You know what I'm saying? You can call somebody else to do something about it. But the
Mhm.
most important thing at that time is that the house is on fire. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So
Facts.
you can't wait for everybody to do something about the fire sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
you got to put your own fire out sometimes. And sometimes you might have that firefighter that show up, don't ask nothing but, turn on the water and start putting water on the fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's
Mm.
how sponsors are sometimes. You know what I mean? I thank God, like I said, I was in uh Georgia, and I didn't have a black sponsor. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had a sponsor. I had people like I always felt like this. I felt like people were bidding to help me when it came to getting a sponsor. You know what I'm saying? And then, like
Mhm.
I said, when you turn the book over and you got all everybody's name on it, it was like, all right, well, who do I choose? And the crazy part is, I didn't choose anybody; they chose me. You know what I mean? So, like, and what I mean by that is like, dude gave me everything that I needed. You know what I'm saying? And at
Mhm.
that particular,
Mhm.
all I needed was somebody to tell me it was going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? Because I was
This
like,
is
yo, man, how I'm gonna get the big book? How I'm gonna get this? How I'm gonna get that? He was like, you don't gotta worry about that. I'm gonna give it to you right now. I mean, what you mean right now? He's like, we gonna go over here and you gonna get this book. I'm gonna give you these CDs and you gonna call me whenever you got a problem.
this was real about alcoholism and God, bro. You would have never told me that the person that was gonna help me get to God would be a younger white kid in Florida with Jersey roots that I had never met in my life.
Yeah.
We sit down, we open the AA big book, and this guy younger than me takes me through this book, gets me to tell him everything about me. You get what I'm saying? God was
Mm-hmm.
working, God was in the midst of us, but if you would have told me that years ago that was going to be the moment that I found God, I would have looked at you like you was crazy. But that's why you
Yeah.
never know who he's going to use and what the circumstances are going to be. So
Oh yeah.
me and him have a connection forever. You get what I'm saying? Because
Mm-hmm.
that moment changed my life, and that's who he used
Yeah.
to get me there. And he did a good job because he made it comfortable for me by being vulnerable and sharing the stuff that he went through too. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So it says the sponsor of those who feel they need no inventory are confronted with quite another problem. This is because people who are driven by pride or self unconsciously blind themselves to their liabilities. These newcomers scarcely need comforting. The problem is to help them discover a chink in the walls their ego has built through which the light of reason can shine. First of all, they can be told that the majority of AA members has suffered severely from self-justification during their drinking days. For most of us, self-justification was the maker of excuses. Excuses, of course, for drinking and for all kinds of crazy and damaging conduct. Whew. We had to make the inventions of alibis in a fine art. We had to drink because times were hard or times were good. We had to drink because at home we were smothered with love or got none at all. We had to drink because at work we were great success or dismal failures. We had to drink because our nation was at war, won a war or lost a war. And it went on into infinitum. Yo,
That's crazy.
yo, I could have. Oh my God, bro. I remember being at Fridays drinking one of them big joints, talking about my first wife, like, she just smothers me. I don't know what to do. This and this. That's how we look, and they talking
Yeah,
about me in this joint right here, man. Like, that's real. Wow, bro.
that's crazy.
Self-justification for drinking, man. This joint get deep right here, bro. Sheesh. Go ahead, pick up the next ones.
We thought conditions drove us to drink. And when we tried to correct these conditions and found that we couldn't to our entire satisfaction, our drinking went out of hand and we became alcoholics. It
Mm,
never occurred to us that we needed to change ourselves to meet conditions, whatever they were. But in
mm,
AA, we slowly learned that something had to be done about our vengeful resentments, self pity,
mm,
and unwarranted pride.
mm.
We had to see that every time we played the big shot, we turned people against us. We
Wow.
had to see that when we harbored grudges and planted revenge for such defeats, we were really beating ourselves with the club of anger we had intended to use on others. We
Mm,
learned that if we were seriously disturbed, our first need was to quiet the disturbance, regardless of who or what we thought caused it. To see
mm,
how erratic emotions victimized us often took a long time. We could perceive them quickly in others, but only slowly in ourselves. First of all, we had to admit that we had many of these defects, even though such disclosures were painful and humiliating.
mm,
Where other people, where other people were concerned, we had to drop the word blame from our speech and thought. This required great willingness even to begin. But once over the first two or three high hurdles, the course ahead began to look easier, for we had started to get perspective of ourselves, on ourselves, which is another way of saying that we are gaining in humility.
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a lot, bro.
Yeah, that's a
That
deep
was a
one.
lot, bro. Yeah, the vengeful resentment, self pity, and unwarranted pride. Whew. I went through all of that in the whole nutshell right there, bro. I had so much resentments towards so many different people. Then I drowned myself in the self pity I talked about, and then I had the unwarranted pride. I tried to use
Mhm.
the pride to cover up the self pity. You know what I mean? I'm self pitying by myself, but when I'm out amongst other people, then I want to show the pride. This joint ain't no joke. This joint really hit you, and then you can reflect on it. You know what I mean?
Oh
You can
yeah.
really reflect on everything they talking about. You got something on that stuff?
I mean, resentment is the biggest one, man. You know what I mean?
Mm,
'Cause
mm-hmm,
it's like, who am I resentful for? You know what I mean? Like, or at, you know what I mean? Because
mm,
I can make it a person, you know what I mean? I can make it the
mm-hmm,
job, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like you said, I can make it the war that's going on in the country right now, you know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? Like,
mm-hmm,
and it's like,
mm-hmm,
uh, once you know what it is, then you gotta say, how's it affecting you? You know what I'm saying? Like, and
mm-hmm,
the effect that some of the stuff that was going on in my life had on me really wasn't that serious. But I made it
mm-hmm,
serious so that I could go get drunk. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that we at
I can
war,
hit him on
right?
that.
You know what I'm saying? Like
No,
the
that's
fact that
dope.
we
That's
got,
real what you said. That's why I started laughing, because that's
yeah,
real.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So like selfishly, you gotta look at you gotta say, well, what part did I play in this part? You know what I'm saying? Like I can't
Mm,
have all this resentment and not and say to myself, well, I didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like,
mhm,
you know what I
mhm,
mean? Like
mhm,
then you just lying to yourself. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, those become uh it becomes a pattern. You know what I mean? So, you
mhm,
know, it's like,
mhm,
okay, uh, well, I asked Mike I wanted Mike to play. I wanted to play at 12:45. Mike got
mhm.
me playing at 9:45 in the morning. Oh man. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I gotta go get drunk so I can get up in the morning. What? Make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like we just look for excuses and you
Yeah,
know what I
you
mean?
know
Like
it.
anything, man. So that's what I
You
got for
know
that,
it.
man.
Indeed, you broke it down on that joint. You broke it down on that joint. It says, where we at? It says, of
Of
course, this
course.
depressive and power driven driver are personality extreme types in which AA and the whole world abound. Often these personalities are just sharply defined as the examples given, but just as often as some of us will fit more or less into both classification. Human beings are never quite alike. Some of us, which making an inventory would need to determine which is the individual character defects are. Having found the shoes that fit, he ought to step into them and walk with new confidence that he has on his last uh, right track. Now let's ponder the need for the list of the glaring personality defects of all of us have in varying degrees. To those having religious training, such a list would set forth serious violations of moral principles. Some others will think of the list as defects of character. Still others will call it index of maladjustments. Some will become quite annoyed if there is talk about immorality, let alone sin. But all who are in the least reasonable will agree upon one point, that there is plenty wrong with us alcoholics, about which plenty we have to be done if we expect to have sobriety, progress, and a reality to cope with life. To avoid
Mm.
falling into confusion over the names these defects should be called, let's take a look at, recognize the list of the major human failings. The seven deadly sins of pride, greed, lust, anger, gluttony, envy, and loss. It is not accident that pride has the procession, for pride leads to self-justification and always spurred by the conscious or unconscious fears. It is the basic breeder of human difficulties, the chief block to true progress. Pride lures us into making demands upon ourselves or upon others which cannot be met without perverting or misusing our God given instincts. With this
Mm.
satisfaction of our instincts for sex, security, and society becomes the sole object of our lives, then pride steps in to justify our excesses. Wow. So the pride had me wanting to have more and more and more and more and more. Jeez, gotta have more
That's good.
to that made me demand things upon people. The pride, nah, you're not gonna do me like that. Nah, like, jeez, yeah, this thing get deep, man. This thing get deep. Pick up. You want to hit the fair joint?
Where we at? The fear?
You got something
As
on
far as
pride
talking
first?
about, yeah, that's no problem.
Go ahead,
Uh
brother.
what are we talking about? Pride. Oh, looking down on other people, man. You know what I mean? I'm JJ Hoops. What you talking about, alcoholic, man? I'm better than that. You know what I'm saying? I used to think rules didn't apply to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't go, but you don't know who I am. You know what I mean? The door always
Mm,
open. You know what I mean? Not taking advice. You know what I mean? That type of pride. Not wanting no help. You know what I mean? Always needing
mm,
to be right. You know what I'm saying? Like that. That was the most. Uh, I think that was a big thing when it came to me. You know, just going down this journey, like accepting the fact that I wasn't right all the time. You know what I'm saying? You know,
mm.
so that's what I got for pride. So, and then as
Okay,
far as
I'm about to read the fair one now. All
uh
these felons generate fear, a soul sickness in its own right. Then fear in turn generates more character defects. Unreasonable fear that our instincts will not be satisfied drives us to covet possessions of others, to lust for sex and power, to become angry when we are instinctively demands are threatened, to be envious when the ambition of others seem to realize what ours are not. Whew. We eat, drink, and grab for more of everything we need, fearing we should never have enough. And with
Mm,
genuine alarm at the prospect of work, we stay lazy. We loaf and procrastinate, or at best, work grudgingly and under half steam. These fears are the termites that
mm,
cease, ceaselessly devour the foundations of whatever sort of life we try to build. Fear is a
mm.
beast, bro. You know what I mean?
Fears
But
of
my fear was I wasn't the lazy worker when it came to that. My fear was not being able to achieve what was people gonna think. So I had to go
mm,
harder, and I had to go harder. You know what I mean? And then when the
mm,
fear came from the situation I was in, then I went for the lust and power to try to give me the instant gratification to cover up the fear I was really feeling inside.
oh
You
wow.
know what I mean? Like I was so caught in my own world, I probably was too self-absorbed, self-centered, and selfish to really be envious of others. Like I was so
Yeah.
locked into what I had going on, I ain't really wasn't worrying about what nobody else had going on. You know what I mean? Like so that part I don't relate to, but the fear controlling me
Mm-hmm.
that drove me. Like fear made it where I had to make sure every tournament was ran. People came up to me and was like, yo, your joints be running on time, your joints be running straight, it be well organized. That came from fear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I knew as a African American worker, so-called African American owner, I didn't have that uh that luxury of being able to mess up.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. We don't get that luxury. As soon as we mess up, we getting
Mm-hmm.
blasted by our own
Oh yeah.
people. You get what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
that fear right there caused me to go harder to make sure that it didn't happen. You know what I mean? So what you got for that? What you got for the fear joint?
I may go back to what you said. But the fear for me is controlling the controllable. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
I always tell myself, I tell my kids that they throw that in my face to this day. I tell them all the time, control the controllable. You know what I mean? Like, and the controllable was at one point today, I can say I can control myself, but the fear of not being able to control myself when I was an alcoholic was something that I was very fearful of. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because fear led to anger. You know what I mean? So the anger would be like, I
Wow.
would react if I felt threatened. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't trying to walk away from no fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you mean? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like that fear of somebody being like you soft. You know what I'm saying? Uh, being, dishonest, lying to avoid the consequences. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I
All
mean? Like,
facts. All
and then
facts.
you started talking about not wanting to be around people. So I wrote, it got, that's for me, it's like a form of avoidance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Procrastinating or running from your problems. You know what I'm saying? So, like, instead of
Mm.
facing my problems, sometimes I would just be like, if I didn't want to deal with this person or deal with this, parent or something like that, I would just be like, I start lying and then I just try to avoid them. You know what I'm saying? And then
Mm.
the fear of people pleasing. You know what I mean? Like,
Ooh.
because like you said, you telling people or people telling you that, hey man, this tournament is running smooth. Hey man, you the best coach I had. You know what I mean? You doing this.
Mhm.
And then the first time somebody told me that, oh man, you don't know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? That fear of really, not knowing what I was doing, like was like, what you talking about? You know what I'm saying? So then it
Wow.
drove back to
That's deep.
anger. You know what I mean? So, and
That's
then
deep.
fear could keep you stuck. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes,
you'll
it
be like,
can.
you know what I mean? So
Go ahead. You could pick up reading.
where we at, man? Because we were so
So
we
when
on
AA
Solomon,
suggests.
yeah, Solomon AA suggests a fearless moral inventory. It must seem to every newcomer that more is being asked of him than he can do. Both his pride and his fear beat him back every time he tries to look within himself.
Mm. Mm.
Pride says, you need not pass this way. Fear
Mm.
says, you dare not look. But the
Mm,
testimony of AAs who have really tried a moral inventory is that pride and fear of this sort turns out to be to be boogeyman, nothing nothing else. Once we
mm,
have a complete willingness to take inventory and exert ourselves to do the job thoroughly, a wonderful light falls upon us, this foggy scene. As we
mhm,
persist, a brand new kind of confidence is born, and a sense of relief is finally facing ourselves is undescribable. There are
mhm.
the first fruits of step 4. By now, the
Bro-
newcomer has
mhm,
probably arrived at the following conclusion: that his character defects, representing instincts gone astray, have been the primary cause of his drinking and his failures at life. That
mhm,
unless he is now willing to work hard to eliminate at the elimination of the worst of these defects, both sobriety and peace of mind will still elude him.
mhm,
That all the faulty foundations of his life will have to be torn out and build a new on bedrock. Now
mm.
willing to commence the search for his own defects, he will ask, just how do I go about this? How do I take inventory on myself? Ooh.
Wow. So when I did it, man, what I had to do was I had to write I had to do 4 lists. I had to
Mm-hmm.
do first one I did was harms. All the people I
Mm-hmm.
harmed in my life, how did I harm them? What I should have did different.
Mm-hmm.
The second one I had to do
Mm-hmm.
was resentments. All of the people
Mm-hmm.
that I hated, people, institutions, establishments, anything I hated, why I hated it. But then I had to
Mm-hmm.
write my role I played in it, in the situation. Then the third one was
Mm-hmm.
fears. What did I fear? Why did I fear it? And then they had a prayer that you do about fears. And the fourth one was the sex inventory. Like all
Yeah.
of my sex life, all of was I using the people? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Did I manipulate all of that stuff, bro? And
Yeah.
when I tell you, when you do it and then you're honest, and I had to look at all of those papers,
Yeah.
I couldn't lie about who I was no more.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean, it's
Like
that part. You know what I mean? Like you said, when you see it on paper, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
to be honest, you know, like for me, I did the paper. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And then like me and you hooked up, right? And then
uh-huh.
you sent me the book, and like I told you in the book, I redid it, and I did it in the mirror and said it to
Yeah, you
myself.
told me that.
You know what I mean? And I was like, "Yo, dog, you really was a piece
yeah,
of crap." You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
like, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and
That part,
the yeah,
that
but
part.
then to just fall to my knees and lay on the ground and
Mm-hmm.
fast and pray and ask the Lord to forgive me because uh, selfishly I'm still making an inventory list on a daily basis.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
mm. That's that step
Because
10. That's that step 10.
yeah,
That's
you know
that
what I'm
step
saying.
10.
So
Take
it's
a
like
daily inventory.
no,
Take a daily
yeah,
inventory. Yep.
yeah,
Yep. Yep.
because it's always
That's that
that
step
one
10.
thing you forgot or that one
Yep.
person you forgot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
And something might
you like,
ring that bell to
yeah,
bring that memory back. And you like,
yeah. And
whoa,
then you've
yeah.
been doing the work to stay sober. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I
Mm-hmm.
gotta start back over again. You know what I mean? So like,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. So
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you always I like. I mean, it's universal in AA, but like you said, man, we only got the day. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm,
I could say I got
mhm.
almost 12 years being sober. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
realistically, I got today. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Like that's it.
Facts. Facts. Fact. This thing getting deep. Here we go. Since step 4 is the beginning of the lifetime practice, it is suggested that we first have a look at those personal flaws which are acutely troublesome and fairly obvious. Using his best judgment of what has right and what has been wrong, he might make a rough survey of his conduct with respect to his primary instincts for sex, security, and society. Looking back over his life, he can readily get underway by consideration of such questions as these: when and how, and is just what instances did my selfish pursuit of sex relations damage others and other people and me? What people were hurt and how badly? Did I spoil my marriage and injure my children? Did I jeopardize my standing in the community? And how did I react to these situations at the time? Did I burn with guilt that nothing could extinguish? Or did I insist that I was the pursued and not the pursuer? Whoo! And thus absolve myself. Have I reacted to frustration in sexual matters? When denied, did I become vengeful or depressed? Did I take it out on other people? Is there was rejection or coldness at home? Did I use this as a reason for promiscuity? Promiscuity, being promiscuous. Whoo, that's deep, bro.
It's funny because they tell you about yourself in every sentence. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
what I'm trying to say, bro.
it's
That's
like
what I'm
they
trying to
ask you
say.
a question
Yeah,
and then they give you the answer. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's
You
what
know?
I'm trying to say. Like with that kind of thing, when I was in that world, I was guilty of this, bro.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's
Like
like you
like
reading about
guilty on
yourself.
all charges. Like when
Yeah.
that paragraph, when it got to that, I was guilty on all charges,
Yeah.
man.
I
You know what
mean,
I
the
mean?
part of did I
Jeez.
burn with guilt that nothing could extinguish? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that
Yeah,
was me. You know what I mean? Because when you really think about some of the stuff you did and you was doing, you're like, wait a second, man, like this is totally wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like,
facts,
and the
facts,
only thing
facts,
that I thought could extinguish it was drinking. You know what I mean? So,
facts, facts,
but I just like
facts.
how they ask, they tell you what they ask you, have I become vengeful or depressed? You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm.
I was both. You know what I mean? You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so
Whew. Not being able to handle the situations at home and just going out. Like, man, I'm out.
yeah, yeah,
Like looking
yeah.
for a reason to go out. You know what I
That's
mean?
it.
Like
I mean, starting an argument just to
and
get out the
and
house.
and and being honest, I could contribute it back to the demons I collected in college, man. Like when you collect
Yeah.
those demons, that's what they don't tell people when they coming in there as freshmen. That's why I want to go to
Hmm.
some colleges and speak, especially to the young men. Like you're gonna be around here doing this and doing that, wanting to be promiscuous,
Hmm.
wanting to do this, thinking it's cool. Man, you're collecting a
Yeah.
lot of demons, bro, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
hard for you to get those demons out of you when you get out of
Hmm.
here. Like like
That's it.
like you think it's fun now, but you're gonna have to pay for all that behavior, and it's not fun, bro. It's
Hmm.
not gonna be. You're gonna want to get married one day. You're gonna have to. Then you ain't gonna be able to fully enjoy the person you married because you didn't collected so many demons and had so
Yeah.
many experiences that it's gonna be hard for you to enjoy the person you with. And that's the part that they don't tell us about that when they tell you to go to college and wild out and do this and do that. Man, you collect a lot of addictions, bro.
Yeah.
A lot of
Well,
addictions, man.
the thing about this inventory thing for us is like
Uh-huh.
we found it at our rock bottom. We found it in
Yeah. Yeah.
enough time to help others. You know what I mean? Because not only is our inventory about us, but it's definitely about helping others too. So, like what I compare my inventory to was me going into my closet right now. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
I got coats in my closet from 2020, they don't need to be in there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like
Mm.
it's time for them to go. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm.
the more I keep them in the closet, the more I get a chance to pick them up and put them back on. You know what I'm saying? So like
Mm.
when we when we
You talking right now,
fear,
brother. You talking.
fearlessly do an inventory of ourselves, right? It's like cleaning out that closet, right?
Facts. Facts.
We got to take out everything that we did wrong, right? And sometimes we might have to put those things back in the closet, but we cannot put every last thing back in the closet and keep it there. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because I
Clutter.
did something wrong. I did something wrong today. So guess what?
Mm.
I gotta put that in the closet. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm.
you might
But
have did
the
something wrong today.
but the
So
inventory part, the part of doing the inventory and then going to 5
mhm,
when you got to confess it to God and somebody else, you see how you
yeah,
was able to just admit that you did something wrong?
yeah,
That comes from actually doing that work
yeah,
that you could
yeah,
just say it like, yo, I was wrong. That's not
Yeah,
easy for a lot of people, bro, to say they was wrong and apologize.
yeah,
Nah, bro.
exactly.
That's not,
And
bro.
the crazy part, like for
Nah,
me, like I told you today, like I was for me, I was wrong because I'm like, hey man, I'm doing this workout. I done drove a half an hour. You're not giving it to me. Then I gotta cuss you out. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
And now you giving it to me. You know what I'm saying? So before I left, it was like, yo, look, young man, look where I am in my life. I know what it takes, and you're not
Mm,
giving it to me right now. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
And I wouldn't be who I am if I sat here and just settled for what you give it. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
But I did
mm.
say to him, look, I apologize, and it's nothing but love. You know what I'm saying? But
That's
don't
dope.
waste my time.
That's dope. That's dope. That's dope.
You know?
That's dope. It says also of importance, the most alcoholics are the questions they might ask about their behavior, respecting financial and emotional security. In these areas, fear, greed, possessiveness, and pride have too often done their worst. Surveying his business or employment record, almost any alcoholic can ask questions like these. In addition to my drinking problem, what character defects contributed to my financial instability? Did fear and inferiority about my fitness for my job destroy my confidence and fill me with conflict? Did I try to cover up those feelings of inadequacy by bluffing, cheating, lying, or evading responsibility? Or by gripping that others failed to recognize my truly exceptional abilities? Did I overvalue myself and play the big shot? Did I have such unprincipled ambition that I double crossed and undercut my associates? Wow. Was I extravagant? Did I recklessly borrow money, caring little whether it was repaid or not? Was I a pinch penny, refusing to support my family property? Did I cut corners financially? What about the quick money deals, the stock market, and the races? Wow. Wow. I
It's
always
crazy.
talk about one thing that I did, man, that I had to make amends for was I had said I'd never fly a kid, like pay for a flight
Yeah, we
and
talked about that.
hotels and cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, still like that thing that I did, that still bothered me, bro. And I made amends
Yeah.
for it though, but it let me know that money, business. That's why I say you can
Yeah.
never mix God and business, because when
No.
you in business, you're gonna have to make some decisions that is gonna affect your business. And if you try to mix
Oh, yeah.
God and business, it's going to be a God decision that needs to be made, and you're going to make the opposite decision because it's affecting your business. And God is
Yeah.
going to be
True.
very, you know what I mean?
It's like
Go
we
ahead,
did
Julie.
the same. We guilty of the same thing. I mean, because that tournament we had flew Team California in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like we took care of all the expenses and everything else. So like, and then like when I think about it, what did we really get out of it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Just pride
just
and just to say
yeah.
you did
You
it.
know what I mean? I mean, for me, to be honest, for me, I got the most pride out of it because, like I said,
I ain't gonna lie
the
though. I
last
ain't gonna lie. That was that's a moment in basketball history that
yeah,
when Tariq got at my man, I ain't gonna lie. That's a moment most
yeah.
people ain't gonna never forget.
Yeah, but and I'm saying to myself, right? This is all going in a gym, right? That got banners with my name on it, right?
Mhm,
We in the middle of nowhere, right? And I'm sitting there
mhm,
like, yo, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? But
mhm.
it is what it is, man.
Go ahead,
Where
pick
we
up
at?
where it says business women in AA. We almost done. We
Business
only got
women
like
and
2 more pages. Go
oh
ahead.
yeah, business women in AA will naturally find that many of these questions apply to them too. But the alcoholic housewife can also make the family financial insecure. She can juggle charge accounts, manipulate the food budget, spend her afternoons gambling, and run her husband into debt by irresponsibility, waste, and
Extravagance. Yeah.
extravagance.
Mhm,
But the alcoholic who have drunk themselves out of jobs, families, and friends will need to cross examine themselves ruthlessly to determine how their own personality defects have thus demolished their security. The most
mhm,
common symptoms of emotional insecurities are worry, anger, self pity, and depression. These stem from causes which sometimes seem to be within us, and at other times to come from without. To take inventory in this respect, we ought to consider carefully all personal relationships with bringing continuous or reoccurring trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It should be remembered that this kind of insecurity may arise in any area where instincts are threatened.
Mm.
Questioning direct to this end might run like this: looking at both past and present, what sex situations have caused me anxiety, bitterness, frustration, or depression?
Mm.
Appraising each situation fairly, can I see where I have been at fault? Did
Mm-hmm.
this perplexity beside me because of selfishness or unreasonable demands? Or if
Mm.
any disturbance was seemingly caused by this behavior of others, why do I lack the ability to accept conditions I cannot change? Oh, God grant
Mm.
me the serenity to accept the things I cannot. Oh,
Woo!
sorry.
Better believe
There,
it.
there are the sort of excuse me. These are the sorts of fundamental inquiries that can disclose the source of my discomfort and indicate whether I may be able to alter my own conduct, so adjust myself serenely to self discipline.
Mm. Jeez.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the most
Yeah.
common symptoms of emotional insecurity are worries, anger, and self pity and depression. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
the self pity part for me was like, I'll always used to tell myself like, you can't throw yourself a pity party. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
then I enjoyed throwing myself the pity party because that came with a lot of alcohol. You know what I mean?
Mm. Mm.
That came with
Mm.
a lot of sex. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then it also
Mm-hmm.
came with the anger. You know what I mean? Because this is the crazy part of being an alcoholic. So you know what you're doing wrong, right? You know
Mm-hmm.
it's wrong. You know what I'm saying? And you try to make it right by drinking. And then you're like, the more I
Mm.
drink, the more you really
The
realize
hole get
that,
deeper.
yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Hole get
what am I
deeper. Yep.
doing? And then
Yep.
that
Hole
goes
get deeper.
from uh gratification to just anger. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Mm-hmm.
believe I'm doing this again. You know what I'm saying? But the more I said I
Facts.
couldn't believe I'm doing it again, the more I couldn't stop it.
Facts.
So,
Suppose that financial insecurity constantly arouses the same feelings. I can ask myself, to what instinct have my own mistakes fed knowing anxieties? Is the action of others or part of the cause? And what I could do about that? Am I unable to change the present state of affairs? Am I willing to take the measures necessary to shape life to conditions they are? Questions like these, more of which I will come to mind easily in each individual case, will help turn up the root causes. But is it from twisted relations with family, friends, and society at large that many of us have suffered the most? We have been especially stupid and stubborn about them. The primary fact that we fail to recognize that in our total inability to form a true partnership with another human being. Whew, our egomania digs two disastrous pitfalls. Either we insist on upon dominating the people we know, or we depend upon them too far, too much.
mm,
That was me,
mm,
depending on people. If we lean too heavily on people, they sooner or later fail us, for they are human too, and cannot possibly meet our incessant demands. If this way, our insecurity grows and festers. When we habitually try to manipulate others to own our own willful desires, they revolt and resist us heavily. Then we develop hurt feelings, a sense of persecution, and a desire to retaliate. We redouble our efforts at control and continue to fail. Our sufferings becomes acute and constant. We have not once sought to be one in the family, but be a friend among friends, to be a
mm,
worker among workers, to be a useful member of society. Always we tried to struggle to the top of the heap, or to hide underneath it. Wow. This self-centered behavior blocked a partnership relation with anyone of those about us. Our, of true brotherhood, we had small comprehension.
Wow.
That, man. Being codependent is what they was talking about, man. Wow. Read the last couple paragraphs right there, brother. Jeez.
Some will object to many of the questions posed because they think their own character defects have not been so glaring. To this, it can be suggested that a conscious examination is likely to reveal the very defects the objectable questions are concerned with. Because our surface recorded hasn't looked too bad, we have frequently been abashed to find that this is so simple because we have buried these self same defects deep down in us, thick layers of self justification.
Mm,
Whatever the whatever the defects, they have finally ambushed us into alcoholism and misery.
mm,
Therefore, thoroughness ought to be the watchword when taking inventory. And in this connection, it is wise to write that, excuse me, it is wise to write out our questions and answers. It will be an aid to clear thinking and honest appraisal. It will be the first tangible evidence of our complete willingness to move forward. Ooh,
wow.
complete,
Wow.
complete
What do you
willingness to
think?
move forward.
Man, every time I read through this, man, I just always thank God for giving me the desperation to do this, bro. Like, cause had I not been desperate, I don't know if I would have did it. So I think like sometimes my expectations for people to be willing to do this might be too
Mhm.
much. I be wanting
Yeah,
people to have this experience, but
yeah,
it takes somebody to really feel like it's a do or die situation to
yeah.
probably really do this process. What you think about that?
I mean, for me to sum it up, the step four is like it's an honest self examination. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm,
it uh can't be fake. It's how we say
yeah.
we're gonna keep it 100. Like you got
Mm-hmm.
to keep it 100 when you're doing your self examination. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you have to make an inventory of those resentments. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And like you
Mm-hmm.
said, when you write it out, when you do the resentments and then you do the harm to others and
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
the patterns of the behaviors, you know what I'm
That
saying? Like,
part. That part.
that
Whoo.
you'll
Like,
start to
cause
see.
nah, cause you could rationalize. I was able to try to rationalize my behavior when it came to women,
Mhm.
but when I looked at my inventory and I looked at the chart in my face and I saw the pattern of the same thing with each person, I
Yeah,
couldn't say it's them no more. I had to say it's
yeah,
me.
yeah,
Like it's no way around it when you see the same thing with different people over and over again. This the same pattern you do. When you honest and you look at that, you like, yo, I was terrible. You know what
yeah.
I mean? And that's the it's something when you get to that point, seeing yourself in black and white and say to yourself, damn, I was terrible, bro. I really gotta
I got one.
change.
I
You
got
know what
one
I mean?
for you, man. I
Wow.
got one for you. Step four, the first one, two. Read the first three words of step four, man.
First three words. It
Yeah.
says, um, oh, I went too far. Hold on. It says, hold on. Oh, I can't go to the name. You talking about other actual step?
Yeah.
All right, hold up. It says, what the thing? I want to get what we. It says, made a searching and
Made a
fair.
searching, right?
Mm-hmm,
Just made a searching, right? So
mm-hmm,
take out made, take out a. And the most important word is searching, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always go back to the Bible, and sometimes it says, seek and you shall find. You know what I mean? Ask and
Mm-hmm.
it shall be given, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to be honest, in step 4, we're trying to identify our character defects. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Facts.
you know
Facts.
what I'm saying?
Facts.
And
And the only way you could do that is if you're totally honest.
that's it. And then when you find out what they are, you gotta take responsibility on how they affected your life and then the people
Mm.
around you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And then the sad part is we say work the steps, right? So once I get past the first 4 steps, right, going into step 5, right, once I do my character, once I do my inventory, right, I gotta prepare myself to grow. You know what I'm saying? I gotta have,
Yeah.
that I gotta have that humility of, this is what I did. It's time for me to, let it go. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta
And
go tell
then
somebody
I gotta
that
go
part.
tell somebody, right? And but in sense, right? When you
Uh-huh.
do that, when you take that inventory and you
Uh-huh.
see it, when you see it on paper is one thing. Like I said, when
Yeah.
I look, you think I'm playing, man? I don't. Like, when you do it with this, bro, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta look at myself in the mirror and just be like, hey, man, you're not bigger than any alcohol. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like, you're not better
Mm-hmm.
than anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you gotta humble yourself. You gotta realize that if it had not been for God, you wouldn't be in
Yeah,
the
we would have been
situation
done.
that you're in right now. You know what I'm
We would
saying?
have
But
been
then
done.
it comes with people don't understand that also comes with the responsibility of not trying to go back. You know what I'm saying? So like, like I tell
Mm-hmm.
people, I mean, I could say this on a podcast. And my life is God, my sobriety, and my wife. Then
There
my
you go,
children
brother.
and my grandchildren. That's it. You know what I'm saying?
There you go,
I
brother.
didn't say God, my wife, and my sobriety. You know what I'm saying? Like, my don't nobody come before God and don't nothing come before my sobriety. Period.
There you go, brother. Facts. Because if you lose that, you're gonna lose everything
That's
else.
it. Yeah.
100%. 100%. So thanks, brother. Next week we'll hit step 5. And our prayers out. Father Abba, thank you for allowing us to come on here tonight, Father. Please grant us serenity for the rest of the night. Give us good night rest so we can go out and do your bidding tomorrow. We pray that this message touch somebody out there that might have needed it to come closer to you and go into the world of sobriety. All these blessings we ask in your son Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Uh,
Appreciate you,
all right.
brother.
All right, no doubt, brother. Tell the wife I
All right.
said what up, man. All right.
All right. Holla at you.
I'll holler at you tomorrow.
Yep.
All right. All right, bro. And that's another podcast, another step 4. Step 4 is the long one, man. Next week we'll be at step 5. So tune in when we have to um tell it to somebody else, man. Explain the exact nature of our wrongs to God and another human being. So take care of the night, God. Pay you guys take care of the night and put God first, man, and let's try to stay sober. Shalom.